True. Nervous. Very, very dreadfully nervous. I had been and am. But why will you say that I am mad? Observe how healthily, how calmly I can tell you the whole story. It is impossible to say how first the idea entered my brain, but once conceived, it haunted me day and night. Object there was none. Passion there was none. I loved the old man. He had never wronged me. He had never given me insult. For his gold I had no desire. I think it was his eye. Yes, it was this. He had the eye of a vulture, a pale blue eye with a film over it. Whenever it fell upon me, my blood ran cold. And so, by degrees, very gradually, I made up my mind to take the life of the old man and thus rid myself of the eye forever. Now this is the point. You fancy me mad. Madmen know nothing. But you should have seen me. Every night, about midnight, I turned the latch of his door and opened it, oh so gently. I moved it slowly, very, very slowly, so that I might not disturb the old man's sleep. It took me an hour to get up next to him so that I could watch him as he lay upon his bed. A single, thin ray of light fell upon the vulture eye. For it was not the old man who vexed me, but his evil eye. So you see, he would have been a very profound old man indeed to suspect that at every night, just at 12, I looked in upon him while he slept. Upon the 8th night, I was more than usually cautious in opening the door. A watch's minute hand moves more quickly than did mine. Never before that night had I felt the extent of my own powers, of my sagacity. I could scarcely contain my feelings of triumph. I fairly chuckled. I was standing next to him when my grip slipped and I dropped the lantern onto the floor. The old man sprang up in bed, crying out, "Who's there?" I kept quite still and said nothing. For a whole hour I did not move a muscle, and in the meantime I did not hear him lie down. He was still sitting up in the bed, listening. He had been saying to himself, "It is nothing but the wind in the chimney. It is only a mouse crossing the floor." All in vain, because death, in approaching him, had stalked with his black shadow before him. The eye was open, wide, wide open, and I grew furious as I gazed upon it. The old man's time had come. The old man was dead. I removed the pillow and examined the corpse. Yes, he was stone dead. His eye would trouble me no more. If you still think me mad, you will think so no longer when I describe the wise precaution I took for the concealment of the body. I cocooned him in the blanket that he had slept in and shoved him under the bed. As the bell sounded the hour, there came a knocking at the street door. I went down to open it with a light heart, for what had I now to fear? There entered 2 men who introduced themselves with perfect suavity as officers of the police. A shriek had been heard by a neighbor during the night. Suspicion of foul play had been aroused. I smiled, for what had I to fear? I bade the gentlemen welcome. I took my visitors all over the house. I bade them search well. In the enthusiasm of my confidence, I sat upon the bed beneath which reposed the corpse of my victim. The officers were satisfied. But before long, I felt myself getting pale and wished them gone. My head ached, and I fancied a ringing in my ears, but still they sat and still chatted. The ringing became more distinct as it continued. I found that the noise was not within my ears. Oh God, what could I do? I foamed, I raved, I swore. It grew louder, 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 and still the men chatted pleasantly and smiled. Was it possible they heard not? They heard, they suspected, they knew. I felt that I must scream or die.
Villains, dissemble no more! I admit the deed. Just look under here. Here! It's the beating of his hideous heart.